There is a particular quality to silence that only abandonment knows, not the silence of sleep or contemplation or even grief, but the silence of someone choosing not to answer, of messages that glow blue and unanswered, of hours that stretch into days that calcify into understanding. He is gone, not in the way of death or distance, not stolen by circumstance or fate, gone in the way that only a person can be when they decide you are too much, when your need becomes inconvenient, when the version of you that requires something, anything, becomes unrecognizable to them. This is not a story about how I lost him. This is about how he lost me, and why, when he walked away in the darkness, he forfeited every right to return when the light came back. Before the absence, there was presence so complete I mistook it for permanence. He existed in small things. The way he texted good morning before I woke. How he remembered I took my coffee light, almost translucent with cream. The particular laugh he saved for my worst jokes, the ones no one else found funny. He had this way of listening that made you feel like the only voice in a world of noise. We built something in the margins, between work shifts and late night calls, in parking lots and kitchen counters, through screens and across tables. A scaffolding of trust, so gradual, I didn't realize I'd been constructing a home inside it. I believed in his constancy, the way I believed in morning, not because I was naive, but because he had never given me reason to doubt. Every small crisis, every moment of uncertainty, he had been there, present, solid. There were signs, I suppose, moments when his eyes went elsewhere, conversations that ended too quickly, a restlessness I mistook for the natural rhythm of any relationship. But hindsight is just cruelty disguised as wisdom. I didn't know I was learning to need him. I didn't know that need would become the wedge that split us. It started with the kind of collapse that has no single earthquake, just a series of tremors that weaken the foundation until everything comes down at once. The details don't matter. Life has infinite ways of breaking us. A loss, a failure, a reckoning that arrives without warning and strips you down to your most vulnerable parts. The kind of crisis that doesn't ask permission, that leaves you raw and shaking and suddenly aware of how thin the ice beneath you always was. For the first time, I couldn't carry it alone. For the first time, I reached out and said the words I'd spent a lifetime avoiding. I need you. Not for solutions, not for fixing, just for the witnessing, for someone to sit in the dark with me and confirm that I wasn't disappearing, that even in this diminished state, I still existed in someone else's world. I wasn't asking for rescue. I was asking for him to stay. And I believed, God, I believed, that this was what we'd built together. This mutual understanding that when one of us fell, the other would extend a hand. That love wasn't just the easy moments, the laughter and light, but also the vigil, the holding on. I didn't know I was about to learn how alone a person can be while still technically having someone. He didn't leave all at once. That would have been too honest. Instead, he began the slow extraction, responses that took hours, then days, messages that grew shorter, stripped of warmth, until they were just functional acknowledgments. Busy, talk later, can't right now. Later never came. I made excuses for him at first. He had his own life, his own pressures. I was being too needy, too much. I should be stronger, more independent, less of a burden. I twisted myself into smaller and smaller shapes, trying to require less space, believing that if I could just shrink my pain enough, he would come back. The cruelest part was the intermittent hope. Every few days, a message that felt like the old hymn, a joke, a thinking of you, just enough to reset the timer on my waiting, just enough to keep me believing this was temporary, a rough patch, something we would laugh about later when things got better. But things were getting better for him. He was getting better because he was getting away from me. I'd check my phone compulsively. Every notification, a small surge of adrenaline. Every disappointment, a small death. I learned the difference between delivered and read. I learned how long a person can stare at 3 dots that never become words. The warmth we'd built turned cold, then colder, then into something worse than cold. Indifference masquerading as gentleness. And still, I held on, because walking away from hope is harder than enduring its slow starvation. There was a night, one specific night, when the weight of everything became unbearable, when the crisis I'd been managing alone reached its apex, and I knew, with the kind of certainty that bypasses doubt, that I could not do it alone. I called him once, twice, 3 times. The phone rang into emptiness. I texted, not angry, not demanding, just honest. I need you. Please, I'm not okay. Read 9:47 p.m. I watched those words turn blue, watched the timestamp mock me, watched the cursor blink in the reply box that remained empty. Time has a different quality when you're waiting for someone to care. Minutes stretched like hours. Each passing moment, a small confirmation that I was not priority enough, not emergency enough, not worth the disruption to whatever comfort he'd chosen instead. I sat with my phone in my hand, watching the screen, giving him every opportunity to prove me wrong. He never did. Somewhere in those hours between desperation and dawn, something fundamental shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet internal collapse, like a bridge giving way in slow motion. I realized he knew I needed him, and he chose not to come. There was no confrontation, no final argument where truths were spoken and doors were slammed. That would have required him to show up, and showing up was precisely what he'd stopped doing. Instead, he simply dissolved. Responses became non-existent. Excuses ran out and were replaced by nothing. The relationship didn't end. It just stopped being tended to. Like a plant someone forgets to water until it's too brittle to save. When we finally spoke, days later, lifetimes later, his words were careful and distant. He was sorry. Things were complicated. He needed space. He hadn't meant for it to happen this way. What he didn't say, but what I heard clearly in every measured syllable. You needed too much, and I chose myself. There's a particular violence in emotional abandonment. It leaves no visible wounds, no evidence that would justify the devastation. You can't point to bruises and say, see, this is where it hurt. There's just the growing realization that when you reached for someone in the dark, they stepped back and let you fall. He walked away, not because I pushed him, not because circumstances tore us apart. He walked away because my vulnerability made him uncomfortable, because supporting me required more than he was willing to give. Because when love stopped being easy, he stopped choosing it. And in doing so, he lost me. Not to anger, not to spite. He lost me to clarity. Grief without closure is a strange companion. It sits with you in the morning, follows you through mundane tasks, whispers in the spaces between thoughts. You find yourself reaching for your phone to share something with someone who's chosen not to receive it. You catch yourself making plans around a future that no longer exists. The confusion is its own kind of torture. How do you miss someone who abandoned you? How do you long for a person who proved, when it mattered most, that you were not worth staying for? I replayed every conversation, searching for the moment it broke. Was it something I said? Something I didn't say? Did I ask for too much or not enough? The mind, desperate for control, convinces itself that if it can identify the mistake, it can prevent the pain from happening again. But there was no mistake. There was only the truth I'd been avoiding. Some people love you in fair weather. Some people stay only as long as you're easy. And when the storms come, when you become complex, messy, real, they find somewhere else to be. I thought about calling him, apologizing, promising to be different, better, less. I drafted messages I never sent, rehearsed conversations that would never happen. And slowly, underneath the grief, something else began to grow. Not anger, though anger came and went like tide. Recognition. I began to see patterns I'd ignored. The times he'd minimized my feelings. The ways he'd positioned himself as the reasonable one, the stable one, while casting my emotions as overreactions. How he'd enjoyed being needed until that need became inconvenient. How he'd wanted the intimacy of connection without the responsibility it carries. He hadn't just left. He'd shown me who he was and who I'd been willing to overlook in order to keep him. There's a moment in every ending where you have to choose what it means. You can frame it as rejection, evidence of your unworthiness, proof that you're too much or not enough. You can let it confirm every fear you've carried about being unlovable, or you can see it as information. I chose information. His absence taught me more than his presence ever did. It taught me that love is not just the declaration, not just the easy affection on good days. Love is the choice to stay when staying is difficult, to show up when it's inconvenient, to hold space for someone's pain without making it about your discomfort. He failed that test, not because he was cruel, but because he was comfortable. And when my crisis disrupted that comfort, he chose preservation over partnership. I don't hate him for it. Hate requires a level of investment I no longer possess. But I will never trust him again, never open that door, never allow him proximity to the parts of me that require protection. Because here's what I learned in his absence. The people who walk away during hardship aren't just unavailable in that moment. They're revealing a fundamental truth about who they are. They're showing you that their love has conditions, that it extends only as far as their convenience allows. And once you've seen that, you can't unsee it. He lost me forever, not because I'm unforgiving, but because I finally learned to value myself enough to require more, to understand that I deserve someone who doesn't view my vulnerability as burden, who doesn't disappear when things get difficult, someone who stays. I let him go on a Tuesday, not through confrontation or ceremony, but through simple internal release. I stopped checking if he'd viewed my stories, stopped crafting casual messages that might reopen dialogue, stopped hoping that one day he'd realize what he'd lost and come back apologetic and changed. I let him be exactly who he showed me he was, someone who, when tested, chose himself. There's no anger in this letting go, no dramatic burning of bridges or vindictive satisfaction, just a quiet acknowledgement that some people are not meant to walk the whole path with you. They're chapter characters, not lifelong companions, and trying to force them into a role they're unwilling to play only diminishes you both. I think about him sometimes, wonder if he thinks about me, if he understands yet what he did, or if he's constructed a narrative where he was the reasonable one and I was just too needy, too intense, too much. It doesn't matter. His understanding is no longer required for my peace. I've learned that closure is something you give yourself, that waiting for someone else to validate your pain, to apologize correctly, to finally understand, that's just another way of giving them power they haven't earned. So I close this chapter myself, with compassion for who we both were, and gratitude for the clarity his absence provided. And I walk forward, lighter, toward people who know that love is a verb, an action, a choice made daily, especially when it's hard. If you're listening to this and recognizing pieces of your own story, if you've been the one left behind when you needed someone most, I need you to hear this. Their absence is not a reflection of your worth. It's a revelation of their capacity. When someone walks away during your darkest moment, they're not telling you that you're too much. They're showing you that they're not enough. Not for you, not for the kind of love that endures. And yes, it hurts. God, it hurts. But you will survive this. You will learn to trust again, not them, but yourself, your instincts, your resilience, your ability to stand even when the ground beneath you feels unstable. The people who are meant for you don't run when you're struggling. They pull up a chair. They sit in the darkness with you. They prove through presence that you're worth the discomfort of staying. Anyone who can't do that hasn't lost you. You've freed yourself from them. Remember, absence during pain is not a pause, it's an answer. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is accept that answer and walk toward people who respond differently. You are not too much. You just needed someone with more to give. And they're out there, waiting to meet you on the other side of this ending. So let go, not with bitterness, but with the quiet strength of someone who finally understands their own value. Walk forward. The right people are already on their way.